Thank you, Bognor. You are a lovely audience. And there you are still. I'm so grateful. Now, I would like to tell you, it'd be funny, really, if I came back here for the second half and you'd all gone home, wouldn't it? Oh, I don't know, though. Now, I tell you what. A friend of mine went to join the forces. He went to the army people first. There was a colonel behind the counter. Said to my friend, "Tell me, what were you in civilian life?"
My friend said, I was an cockle maker.
Colonel said, "We've plenty of those, absolutely stiff of them. Run along and see the RAF. Hurry along, shut the door." So my friend went to see the RAF. Group captain behind the counter said to my friend, "Tell me, what were you in civilian life?"
My friend said, I was an cockle maker.
Group captain said, "We've plenty of those, absolutely stiff of them. Run along and see the senior service, see the Navy. Hurry along, put the door back." So my friend went to see the Navy. The chap behind the counter there said, "What were you in civilian life?" And my friend said, I was an cockle maker. Chap in the Navy said, "Oh, we haven't any of those. You're in." Well, he'd been in the Navy about 6 weeks, and he was coming round a corner on a ship. When the captain of the ship spoke to him, they do sometimes, said, "Tell me, what were you in civilian life?" And my friend said, I was an cockle maker. Captain said, "Well, you go and make one." So my friend went and made one. He came back within about half an hour. It was a highly polished mahogany box with a circular hole in the lid. And the captain said, "That's an cockle, is it?" My friend said, "Yes, it's a cockle." Captain said, "What are they for?" My friend said, "I've no idea." Now, you know that angered the captain. He said, "You'll be making cockles all your life and you don't know what they're for. You must be mad." And in his fury, he seized hold of the cockle and he threw it over the side of the ship. As it sank in the water, it went cockle. Another odd ode, I think, and this one was really quite famous throughout the war, I'm sure you will agree. This is the tale of Sonia Snell, to whom an accident befell. An accident which may well seem embarrassing in the extreme. It happened, as it does to many, that Sonia had to spend a penny. She entered in with modest grace the properly appointed place, provided at the railway station, and there she sat in meditation. Unfortunately unacquainted, the woodwork had been newly painted, which made poor Sonia realize her inability to rise. And though she struggled, pulled and yelled, she found that she was firmly held. She raised her voice in mournful shout, "Please, someone, come and help me out." Her cries for help then quickly brought a crowd of every kind and sort. They stood around and feebly sniggered, and all they said was, "I'll be jiggered." "God blimey," said the ancient porter, "we ought to soak it off with water." The station master and the staff were most perverse and didn't laugh, but lugged at Sonia's hands and feet and couldn't get her off the seat. Carpenter arrived at last, and finding Sonia still stuck fast, remarked, "I know what I can do," and neatly sawed the seat right through. Sonia arose only to find a wooden halo on behind. An ambulance came down the street and bore her off, complete with seat, to take the wooden, bustled gal off quickly to the hospital. They hurried Sonia off inside after a short but painful ride, and seizing her by heels and head, laid her face downwards on the bed. The doctors all came on parade to render her immediate aid. A surgeon said, "Upon my word, could anything be more absurd? Have any of you, I implore, seen anything like this before?" "Yes," said the student unashamed, "frequently, but never framed." Here is a theatre advertisement in the Daily Telegraph, Wimbledon Theatre, the Oxford Lay House Company, in As You Like It. Who wouldn't? Western Evening News, horses for loan or lease, purebred Arab stallion with good show record and high fertility. Present owner unable to do him justice. Another ode. This is the tale of Bluebell Bishop who kept a nice fried chip and fish up. As well as her husband Bert who worked, she'd also a small son Bill who irked, 'cause he made such an infernal noise whilst upstairs playing with his toys. So much against their dearest wish, he was brought downstairs amongst the fish. He paired the kippers from those of odd size, and he played marbles with the cod's eyes. His mother cried, "You've gone too far. Take your water pistol out of the vinegar." And whilst Mum and Dad were busy cooking, they had no time to keep on looking. And so it was, in all that clatter, the boy fell in the pan of batter. And though he kicked and booed and cried, with hake and cod was nicely fried. Then in the general rush and fuss was sold with chips as octopus. It was not until the shop had cleared they'd found their son had disappeared. And though they sought him high and low and even down the overflow, there was no trace of little Bill except the profit in the till. Two babies a day old, side by side in cots in a maternity home. One of them leans over the edge of his cot and says to the other,
"Are you a little girl or a little boy?"
And the other one says,
"I'm a little boy."
the first one says,
"How do you know? How do you know whether you're a little girl or a little boy?"
the first one pushes down the bedclothes and says,
"Look. Look, blue booties."
"Thank you kindly, another ode." Luggles akimbo. I'll herewith introduce you to a striptease dancer, name of Sue, each night performed upon the halls, casting off her scanty smalls. She clutched balloons instead of fan, as lightly round the stage she ran, and due to covering quite inferior, showed portions of her pink exterior. At this the crowd would loudly cheer, with witty comments from the rear, suggesting that they'd like revealed those bits and pieces still concealed. But to this show there came one night a schoolboy, name of Freddie White. On looking round he spotted soon the front of Sue behind balloon. An evil gleam grew in his eye, as with a soft and thankful sigh, prepared to use with action drastic his catapult of strong elastic. You're ahead of me, madam. And as she in position came, young Fred drew long and careful aim, then sped the pellet swift as thought, followed quickly by a loud report. Balloon then vanished from the eye, and Sue was left in short supply. Then came shouts of wild applause, with shouts of bravo and encores, and whiskered geezers green with age tried to scramble on the stage. But Sue was meanwhile well aware she could no longer linger there, and to save herself from fate uncertain, quickly scrambled up the curtain. Halfway to the top she stuck, despite the cries of, "Go on, duck, keep on climbing, that's all right. You don't half look a pretty sight." She may have stayed up there for hours, depending on her staying powers, had not a stagehand, name of Brown, volunteered to fetch her down. On reaching her, he closed his eyes and clutched quite firm his luscious prize. Then Sue cried out in accents cruel,
"Hold me here, not there, you fool!"
This story would have ended there, with Sue a sorry tale to bear. But quoth the manager called Len, "We'll do the whole thing over again." Again. Can't believe it, can you? "We'll do the whole darn thing again," and so at 8:30 each night, poor Sue repeats her former plight. The crowd look on with stupid awe as bubbles start to burst galore, and leaping up they stare pop-eyed at Venus thus personified. I'm going to sing again, that will serve you right. We are now going down a sewer. When you're working in the dark down below, underneath St. James's Park down below, when you're working in the dark, oh, it isn't half a lark. When you're working in the dark down below. Oh, it isn't hard to tell down below if it's Bow or Clerkenwell down below. For Bow and Clerkenwell have a different kind of smell, and we know it very well down below. Over Covent Garden way down below, in the merry month of May down below, the fragrance of the flowers give us many happy hours, and we sing a roundelay down below. The objects that we find down below help to entertain the mind down below. There are watches we can't wind, wrapped up in bacon rind. And that isn't all you'll find down below. When you're under Floral Street down below, with the water round your feet down below, midst the cabbages and beet, you may find a marguerite, and the thought is very sweet down below. When to Billingsgate we come down below, when to Billingsgate we come down below, when to Billingsgate we come, blimey, things begin to hum, and you wish you'd never come down below. There is something in a sewer down below. What has a strange allure down below? The magic of the drain is a thing you can't explain, and it's calling me again down below. What a kind lot you are. Another odd ode coming up. This is the tale of Freddie Fuss, who bought a double-decker bus. and to his wife, one known as Kate,
Said this'll do to live in, mate. No rent to pay, not even fares, so hop on quick, get up them stairs.
They bought wallpaper, paste and paint. They made it look like what it ain't, with Tudor beams and plaster pink, all mod cons plus kitchen sink. No mon repos upon the gate. They had a destination plate. Mrs. Fred would lounge in bed with do not spit above her head. One day when Kate was in her bath, she thought I'd do it for a laugh, and with abandon, sad to tell, stretched up her arm and rang the bell. Her husband in the driving seat drove at 50 down the street, with Katie yelling, "Stop, you beast!" and soap suds round her Aldgate East. But on it rushed, as buses do, until a low bridge hove in view. 'Twas thus that Kate and Freddie Fuss came to own a topless bus. In other words, at one fell blow, their bus became a bungalow. Whilst Katie, nude, without much hope, tried to camouflage herself with soap, yelling to Fred, "Now you've gone too far. Where do you suggest I put me loofah?" A passing postman, somewhat coarse,
Said if she's Godiva, where's her horse?
Fred cried, "Here's my boob for all to see, and with yours uncovered, that makes 3. A boy on a push bike started shrieking,
Cool, look at that there lady streaking.
The latest news is Freddie Fuss now owns a single-decker bus, while Mrs. Fuss, his better half, wears a bikini in her bath.
There was a pharmacy. No, not a chemist shop, a pharmacy. And they had a lovely pharmacy, and they had 2 sons. One was called Edward, and the other was called Edward II, because his wife thought 2 heads were better than 1. As well as the 2 sons, the farmer and his wife had a rooster that used to live in a field together with a bull that also lived in the same field, all cosy.
Well, Every morning at dawn, the rooster used to crow and wake up the farmer and he was livid, and wake up his wife and she was livid, and wake up their sons and they was livid, and wake up the bull and he was livid he was. Now one morning, when the rooster crowed, the bull was more livid than usual, being liverish, and he decided to toss the rooster, not double or quits, but for always. The rooster saw him come in, and the rooster put his head down first and tossed the bull. Perfectly true, Cub's honour. Now the farmer's wife, looking out of the yard of the animals, saw this occurrence happen, all this happening occur, take your pick, as the navvy said to his friend. So her name was called Bloodwen Gwyneth. Bloodwen Gwyneth, Scotswoman. Her husband was called Cracticus. Called him Crackers for short. She said, "Crackers! The rooster has tossed the bull." He said, "Whatever sort of a story is that?" She said, "That's a cock and bull story." Another odd ode. A furrier named Izaac Petter owned a dog, a large red setter. When making up a coat one day, Isaac's dog got in the way, and by mistake the unlucky cur was duly stitched into the fur. The coat was bought by Annie Gunk, who said, "Oh, what a lovely skunk." She only proved she should know better. It was beaver with a dash of setter. It fitted her just like a sack, and while she walked, it scratched her back. Her husband said, "This coat's alive, and it answers to the name of Clive. And what is even more absurd, it points at every passing bird. It also demonstrates with ease a quaint affinity for trees." Just then, the family butler, Adam, whispered, "Please excuse me, madam. although I don't quite see the point. Your fur coat swiped the Sunday joint.
And he said, this coat's not right. We have to let it out at night. And every time it hears a gun, you ought to see my fur coat run. I can't complain, it's rather pleasant. It always comes back with a pheasant.
Her husband said, this fur's not fair. It's always lying in my best chair. I sat on it, it really got 'em. It went for me and bit my ankle. So her husband threw the coat away, but it walked home again next day. It welcomed him, this fur he'd tricked, thus he was well and truly licked. I must approach this next misprint rather delicately, ladies and gentlemen. There is only one letter left out. Walsall Observer, March 1976. Passed away February the 19th. If roses grow in heaven, Lord, pick a bunch with care, place them in my uncle's arse to show that I still care. It should be arms, you see. The M is missing. 'Tis delicious, isn't it? The ultimate ode, ladies and gentlemen. This is the tale of Sally Small, proud owner of a market stall. She sold plates of luscious whelks, prawns and winkles in their shelks. Soppy rhyme. And youngsters too came in their masses for her crustacean delicacies. Then came a time, and here's the rub, when the landlord of her local pub put on a show of which the star danced topless in the public bar, and all Sal's customers forsook her to see the topless one's bazooka. I don't know what it means either. Now, Sally faced a hideous fate. She couldn't sell a single plate.
How can I sell a single prawn now all my customers are gone down to that topless disco bar to soak up beer and ooh la la?
For the next episode, we thank the manager of Sally's bank. Tearfully, she begged a little loan
until that crowd of overgrown schoolboys get tired of topless trollops and come back to me and scoff my scallops.
Sternly, the manager said, no, you'll have to stimulate cash flow. Your assets up to now concealed must now be totally revealed. Madam, compete, he added flat. You fight for custom, tit for tat. Ponder, he added, then I trust. See the solution, bust or bust. Oh, do explain that to the rest of your side. That's my advice. How does it strike you?
Oh, you are awful, but I like you,
said Sal, and then confessed, even me crabs was served up dressed. I can't close the stall and give them best. I'll keep with changing trends abreast. Out of the old and into the blue, sang Sally, seeing trade renew. Each customer to get a glimpse from Sally bought a plate of shrimps. A policeman came and parked his bike, saying, I've never not seen the like. We must point out, Madam, pursuant to Street Trading Act 1902, a £10 fine must be recovered on all fresh dishes found uncovered. He looked at her, o'er crabs and fish, and thought, you are a luscious dish. Too long, my darling, we have tarried. 2 weeks later, they were married.